Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Wilhelm Scream, and welcome back to the channel for more Destiny 2 news and intel. And today's video is going to be a culmination of a few things. I'm going to be running you through this week's GM Nightfall, which is the newly reprised inverted Spire. Some new glitches, some old glitches that you're probably going to want to know if you're trying to complete that and get your hands on the Adept version of the Undercurrent grenade launcher, which is available this week. All the tips and tricks that we're going to discuss in today's video will be viable for lower level difficulty Nightfalls if you're just trying to get a normal version of the Undercurrent. But if you're trying to complete your Conqueror Seal or Gild It, all of these things are going to come in handy. First off, I just wanted to run through the loot from Zavala today. As I said, it is the Undercurrent grenade launcher. This is a wave frame grenade launcher. It's really good in the special weapons slot as far as a wave frame arc grenade launcher goes. It's right up there with the one from Vow of the Disciple, whose name escapes me at the moment, but you can leave it in the comment section down below. Thanks so much. Definitely competes with that grenade launcher, so I think for a lot of players, if you're not able to run a raid, even the normal version of the Undercurrent is reasonably good compared to that grenade launcher, so I would suggest picking it up. Certainly a worthwhile Nightfall doing this week. The inverted Spire has been around for a very long time. It is newly updated, so some of the old tricks don't work, but some of them still do, and I think I might have found a couple of new ones, specifically for solo runs, if that's something you're doing. But I also just wanted to run through the tower quickly because if you're somebody who doesn't run Nightfalls that often, or if you're not really too aware with the current weapon meta for things like GMs or just general endgame content, there is a few vital things available at the moment that will really help you out specifically this week. The number one is the Tenache's Mastery, or Tenache's Mastery. I'm always going to mispronounce this name, I know. But this particular sidearm, rocket sidearm with stasis, the first one we've had, actually has a unique glitched perk on it, which is, if you can get one with Chill Clip, that Chill Clip will proc Devour if you are running Devour on any one of your classes. Now, it doesn't do it initially, but if you shoot 3 shots at a yellow bar enemy, anything that causes the Chill Clip to activate will also proc Devour. And because Stasis is heavily favored in the endgame meta, specifically Champions meta at the moment, this will actually do a lot of work for you in this particular Nightfall. So I would either run a Stasis grenade launcher or this particular sidearm, or maybe in Indebted Kindness as a sidearm. A arc sidearm will also do really well. But Stasis and arc are the two things you're probably going to want to go to as far as builds for your weapons or for your class. The other thing that I wanted to mention for sale, at least for the next day, though there was a similar one for sale yesterday, over at Banshee 44, and you do have to be sort of quick with these weapons, but we have an Aquilos SMG with Volt Shot. This is also playing into the champion meta, also of this particular strike. Submachine guns can be good, they cannot be good. This is a good one. Volt Shot is one of the best perks you can get on any arc weapon. So, like I said, if you have an Indebted Kindness, like the one that was free from Bungie a few weeks ago, that's going to really do a lot of work for you. But if you weren't able to get that, or if you just don't have the right combination of stasis weapons and arc weapons, you can use the one from the Iron Banner. I think both are going to be fairly good. I just wanted to open my character really quick just to show you what I was running, combination of things. I was not running the Salvation script, though you could, I suppose. I was running the Anarchy, which is amazing. But if you don't have an Anarchy, a grenade launcher with arc, or a rocket with arc or stasis, even Salvation script could do pretty well in this, though I think this might not be the go-to. I was also running this Vantage Point pulse rifle at one point because it had jolting feedback, which is a really good perk. You could also run Graviton Lance. You could run the Undercurrent itself if you have one, though I'm sure that's not what most people are going for. I had a Vouchsafe Scout Rifle with the stabilizing rounds. Seemed to do really, really good. My Indebted Kindness with Volt Shot was doing great. This is actually the one that I picked up from Banshee a few weeks ago, or last week. You could also run the Tenacious Mastery. I also had a Live Fire Scout Rifle, Stasis Scout Rifle, with Headstone on it. Did a lot of good work for me. A Lost Signal Grenade Launcher was working really well. So these are just a few combinations that I ran when I was doing this particular GM. A Riptide Fusion Rifle with Chill Clip also did some work for me in this. I was not running my Dawnblade subclass. I was running Prismatic with the Getaway Artist for my double orbs. I had Helion on, as well as getting the Arc Soul from this. Really helped quite a bit. And that was generally what I was doing for this particular Nightfall. I was running the Solar Prismatic Super, but I've seen people now running the Arc or even the Stasis one. This would be the only place where I would maybe diverge from the Arc Stasis meta of the current moment. But that is going to be it for all the information regarding stuff just available in the tower and a rundown of all the preamble to this actual strike. We're now going to actually go into the GM strike, and I'll show you a few more glitches, maybe like the one you might have seen quickly at the beginning of this video. So the first thing you're going to want to do when you load into the strike is head off to the left side and make your way up on top of the platform that we used to use in order to skip past this first encounter. Unfortunately, we can't do that anymore, but you can still use this area as elevation and cover over the champions that will spawn in initially when you start the strike. I believe on the GM difficulty, it's going to be 3 champions. There are a few harpies that spawn up on top of this platform, but once they're gone, you should have free range of the area. And for solo players or groups, this should make this whole section quite a bit easier. Now you can use a skimmer to just fly up on top of this platform if you want, but please note that on the GM difficulty, even the harpies can one-shot a skimmer, so I would suggest just using that little edge that you saw me use. Doesn't take very long, and this is a great spot for this section. For the next section where you have to scan the Vex Tower, fortunately you don't need to stand near it once you've scanned it, so I would suggest heading over to this set of platforms on the left side near the ledge across the Electric Lake, and it should allow you enough cover to make quick work of this whole area. I would recommend, though, if you are a solo player, maybe stay on the lower of the 2 platforms. Harpies will still spawn on the previous platform that we were just standing on. Just make sure that you take out those before you actually start paying attention to the bulk of enemies that are going to be spawning in, as they can still snipe you and you might not be expecting it. Also, that there are a set of harpies that spawn very close to the ledge of this waterfall that, if they're in the right spot, cannot be damaged. I don't know if that is because the waterfall is glitching out or because the enemies getting close to the waterfall are glitching out, but if there's an enemy that you're just not able to do damage to, forget about them and focus on the big ones first, because once they're gone, you'll be able to progress. All the rest of the enemies should disappear. The next area is the make it or break it section of this strike, in my opinion. Though it is not the most difficult area, it's definitely the spot where you're going to face the most champions in a bulk. Certainly easy to run out of revives in this area if you're doing it in a group, and if you're a solo player, it's definitely going to be the spot where you want to be the most methodical. Take your time. I would suggest staying up on the ledges as you first enter and maintaining elevation over all the enemies. Once you complete this area, I did want to note that there is a free heavy hidden down underneath. Now, I don't believe that this was something that was there previous to the revised version of this strike. There's another area later on where you can also get a free heavy ammo that I wanted to make note of. The next area of note is the tank section, and it is pretty self-evident what you're supposed to do here. Use the tanks. However, I have noticed that a lot of people don't realize that the tanks also fire tracking rockets as well as their cannon, and you can use these things in tandem. So make best use of the tanks and try to take out those Wyverns before they take out your tank, which they can in one shot. Once you're done with the tanks, make your way through the big fire electric fence, and first head off to the right where you're going to find the first plate that you need to stand on to defuse. Now you can do this in different ways, but I would suggest first taking out the champions that are on the plate, as well as the other enemies, by standing behind the bunker as you see me doing here. If you're playing in a team, I would always recommend keeping one teammate behind this bunker, at least until you have to rotate to the opposite side. The reason I go to the right versus the left first is there's just more cover on this side, and you'll be facing a lot more enemies from outside of the bunker if you go to the left first. Take out the first champion, and then toggle the plate, meaning get on it, wait for enemies to spawn in, and then jump off the plate again and either go to the top of the bunker or back to this area. And now on to the area where you need to protect the ghost, and this is going to be the first major glitch that we discuss in today's video, specifically for solo players. You can still do this glitch in a group, though it might not be necessary, as we now actually have a platform that runs around the back ledge of this area where you can actually find the second heavy ammo crate that will probably allow you to mitigate a lot of the damage that you would take from the ads spawning in. So if you're in a group, I would suggest going back there. But if you're a solo player, you can actually hide inside of these pillars that run around the front ledge of this area. Once you're in there, the enemies will never be able to figure out where you are, and they should just glitch out and start to swarm around the opposite side of the pillar. Big shout out to my buddy Sinister for finding this spot as well as the other one. The only enemies that can hit you when you're in this area are the harpies that spawn on the outside of this arena. But they're pretty easy to take out. They'll only be directly behind you. Those are the ones you have to worry about the most, and you can actually shoot them through the invisible wall that we're hiding in. And on to the boss encounter, by far the most difficult part of this strike, just by the nature of the boss encounter. It's a phase encounter, which means you have to do one phase of damage to the boss before you can progress to this next platform, which you see me dropping down to now, before you can actually progress to the final phase of damage, which will be on the bottom of this map. And though there are 3 phases and the final one is actually the longest, I do believe the second phase of damage is probably the most challenging and where the most teams will wipe, or if you're a solo player, where you'll probably get booped off the map. As though you can still fall off of the map in the first phase of damage, it's very unlikely because you have a lot of cover and a lot less ads. Where in this area, the platform is fairly small, and the boss does like to slam you, which will not only send you possibly, but if you're doing this in a group, all of your teammates off the map to instant die and wipe the strike. Fortunately, there is still a pretty good glitch for this particular platform. As you saw when I dropped down from the first platform, I tried to land on this, we'll call it scaffolding, as I was falling down. There was a few areas where I could have possibly landed, though it is a little bit difficult sometimes to find your footing on those little pieces of scaffolding. So I would suggest try to fall onto the one closest to you first, because you're probably not going to land on it and you're probably going to end up sliding off. But hopefully, as you can see what I did in this clip, you'll be able to find yourself onto another piece of the scaffolding slightly lower down. But any piece that you see here will be fine for this second phase of damage. You will not get adjoining allies once you're in this spot. However, once the boss drops down to the bottom of the map, you will get adjoining allies. I would suggest just staying here until you get that joining allies, as It is sort of easier, I think, to pick up a fight once you have actually spawned into it. It also sort of messes with the ad spawn a little bit, sort of surprises your enemies, believe it or not. So use this spot as you will. I think it's going to be really good for solo runs, but also for group runs. As you can see, my teammates really didn't have to worry about whether or not they died in this area, as I was always going to be able to pick them up towards the end. You do get about 10 seconds between when the boss actually rotates to the bottom of the map through this phase of damage before you actually lose the platform itself. So that should give you plenty of time, if your teammates do die, to run to the platform and revive them. And obviously, if you're a solo player, you could just wait in this area until you actually get adjoining allies, and then you'll spawn at the bottom. And one more glitch or exploit that I did want to discuss briefly, which isn't specific to this strike and will not be helpful for solo players, though can come in very handy if you find yourself in a group and the last player alive, or you've run out of revives. We are talking about the joining allies glitch. Now, this is a very easy glitch to do, and was actually something that Bungie themselves implemented to a certain extent, though I'm sure they didn't expect us to use it the way we have. But to do this glitch properly, all you need to do is drop out of the game completely from your menu screen. So if you're playing on a console, that would mean going to your console's home screen and then quitting the game from there. Same thing if you're playing on Steam. What this does is makes the game think that you have dropped from the game due to a network error. You can then rejoin into the game, and the game will actually give you a prompt asking you if you would like to re-enter the last activity you were in before you got dropped. Again, that's because the game thinks that you were dropped because of a network error. Follow the prompt and allow it to load you back into the game with your teammates. You will load back in alive without the need for a revive. So this is a way, if you've run out of revives, or if you're the last player alive on your fire team, have your teammates do this to get back into the fight as quickly as possible. Could save you a run or a complete wipe of a run. Just a good thing to know. Again, it's not specific to this strike. You can do this any week in any GM. So hopefully some of those tips, tricks, glitches, or exploits will allow you to get a completion on this week's Nightfall, the new reprised version of the inverted Spire, maybe even a GM completion, maybe get your hands on the Undercurrent grenade launcher, or possibly even the Adept version. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe to the YouTube channel, and turn on the bell to post notifications so you never miss out on any future Destiny 2 content like this. You can also follow me on Instagram. It'll be linked in the description box down below. Almost 80% of the people who watch this channel regularly are still not subscribed, so any new subscribers is really appreciated and really helps support the channel a whole lot. You can also leave a hashtag Revenant, or a hashtag The Final Shape, or a hashtag Nightfall in the comments section down below. Remember, any of those things I just mentioned also enter you into any future giveaways on this YouTube channel. We do one every 1,000 subscribers, so you never want to miss out. And of course, when and if we reach 100,000 subscribers on the channel, we'll be giving away an Xbox Series or a PlayStation or a video card if you play on PC. And once more, I am Wilhelm Scream. Thanks so much for watching, as always. And of course, we will see you next time.